Good morning, Google Plus and YouTube listeners. Welcome, welcome. And thank you for joining us for the Healing Circle number 37. And we have a very special guest today, and I'm really excited to have her on the show. And the more I get to know about her, the more I think she is amazing and awesome. In about 27 minutes, we're going to take a short break while I call into Blog Talk, and then we'll do the water blessings. And if anybody wants to call in at that time, the number is 347-989-8446. And I would like everyone to give Mia Johnson a very warm welcome. Welcome, Mia.
Thank you. You're my first, my first video.
Mia, you have this amazing website called Out of the Tangled Web. Do you want to tell people what you do?
Well, I'm a metaphysician, but that's a hard word for a lot of people to understand, because, right away they think that, that means I'm like a wizard. And I go, no, I said, it's like the art of being. It's the art and science of being. Metaphysics covers, like I have all my traditional licenses, counseling, coaching, mediation. I teach parenting. I teach anger management. I do a lot with mood disorders. But then I have like this alter personality that's just like, that's my pagan side. That's my my chakras and my Reiki. I do emotional Reiki because I'm an empath. And so I pick up on other people's emotions. And so like when I do Reiki on someone, I feel where they're emotionally stuck. I can do physical, but the emotional is going to come through anyway, and it's going to shove to the front, and it's going to say, here, first pay attention to me. So yeah, I do that. But right now I'm focusing on mind mapping with Mia, which is kind of a combination, I think, of neurolinguistics, um, just spirituality, chakras, energy, understanding. A lot of people don't understand that we are energy, that we come from energy. And whatever happens to this vessel, when this vessel's, we go back to energy. And it doesn't matter what religion that you practice. The same theory is, this is quantum physics. It's like you become energy again in the universe, and then where you go is like whatever you believe. you know which is one of the reasons why I'm like, so, when I work with people, I tell them, I go, remember, you only get one vessel this lifetime. So, you want to keep your vessel, I mean, if your house looked like it was falling down, I said, you'd paint it, right? I said, it's the same thing. So, yeah, I have, I'm kind of balancing and integrating, because how do I stop being a therapist while I'm in the middle of doing NLP with someone? I mean, how do I stop being a mediator, if I'm dealing with somebody who's having an anger issue?
Exactly.
I mean, it's like after, my friends call me accreditation junkie, because I always get accredited in things. And I always say that if I know it, I want to know how to do it. I want to be sure that I can prove that, yes, I can do it. And, but my interests these days are, really making people understand communication. The value of a communication is the amount that the person to whom you're speaking understands what you're saying. Because if they are not talking on the same plane as you, and I do a lot of couples, I do a lot of, child and parents. I even I even do it between uh, people who work together, where there just seems to be constant disagreement and friction.
Mhm.
And, and a lot of times it's because while they are hearing each other, they're not listening to each other. They're not listening for what the person is saying. They're hearing what they perceive out of the map of their own mind. And the map is made up from the moment that we're born, that brief moment that we're innocent before somebody dangles, the first like bauble in front of us, like the little baby thing over, that spins and plays music. Okay, that's the start of our programming. Until then we're perfect. We're exactly as we're supposed to be. And
Mhm.
then slowly society programs us. And then as they teach us to learn to talk, and we play with our friends, and we go to school, and we have whatever religious affiliation, so that by the time we get to be functioning adults, I guess that would be around 40. Really, I think everything up to 40 is just practice. I think most of the I would love to see. I think that's what we're aiming for now, like with the Spiritual Guidance Network,
Mhm.
that we're aiming to bring the knowledge earlier to people. Because I know that, and ask yourself, don't you wish that you knew 20, 30 years ago what you know now?
Absolutely, because I certainly the things that I did in my life brought me to where I am today, but
Hmm.
knowing what I know now, because when I was a little girl, I could see spirits and communicate with them. And I had no one to talk to about that. And especially like in the 60s and 70s, you didn't talk about that stuff really, and or even with your friends. So, yeah, I agree with you that, yeah.
Well,
But
that's why I say it's a little bit of like coming out of the closet, because I've always had to work with insurance companies and now I don't. And it enables me to be, when I take somebody on, I take them on completely. It's like whatever they need to talk about. It's like, okay, if today you need to talk about your relationship, then okay, let's talk about your relationship. If tomorrow you need to talk about your relationship with your boss, well, then we'll talk about your relationship with your boss.
right,
I'm very eclectic. I can go, I mean, I can be the mediator, I can be the therapist, I can be the coach, I can be the neurolinguistic, I can be all those things, but ultimately I'm Mia, and it's just, you get me. I don't come with a filter. I'm sorry. I pretty much say what I think. If somebody's, telling me something, you know, and I'll be like, really? Or seriously? Like,
I'm the same way.
yeah. You know, sometimes you have to stop and go, do you seriously believe that? You know,
Hmm.
a good example I'll give you, because you know I'm a storyteller.
Yes.
So I'll give you a good story that's just happened last night. Okay. I've joined a new group on LinkedIn. I have a very big LinkedIn. I have like 17,733 contacts on LinkedIn. So, I'm out there, you know. So the things that I say in forum, it gets around. Well, I just joined a new forum, and it was for spiritual coaches and spiritual counselors. And I guess so far, most of the forums that I've been in have been like more neurolinguistic and, coaching and hypnotherapy. So now all of a sudden I'm in Alice in Wonderland, because I go on there, and they say, well, there's a new post, and the woman, what this is what the woman said last night. She said, is it that, is it that there's beauty in everything? Is it that we cannot see the beauty in everything, or something along those lines and everything? And I was like, and I did. I wrote her, I said, really? I said, where was the beauty of Auschwitz? I said, I can think about that, and I can't find any beauty in that, and everything. She wrote back to me, she goes, the beauty is that some people were brave and some people survived. Okay. I was a little bit, don't you expect more from your spirituality? I mean, I believe in spirituality, but I also am a very practical person. I guess that's the NLP in me, you know. Um, but if somebody says something to me like, and they just make a statement, and I'm looking for an article to read to explain what are you talking about, and you realize that there's no article. I wrote to the one woman, I said, I looked everywhere for the article, on your thing. I said, and then I found out that your comment was your comment. I said, and it was something about gratitude. And it's just like they put these, like, just statements up there. And then nobody answers. I'm always the first one to plunge in, and and everything. And that's how come I get my head chopped a lot, because really I just do say what I think. There's no point not to. Um, this is a real world. We have real problems. We have a situation. Um, Spiritually, it doesn't see, people equate a lot to religion, and religion is something that is man-made, and yet the thing that surrounds them, the magic that surrounds them all the time, is the universal force. I mean, you don't have to go to a building to feel it. You don't have to get together with 30 other people who are going to say the same thing that you're going to say, or you don't have to listen to somebody. All you do, I personally don't believe that God was a single parent. I believe in the God and the goddess. Okay. So,
Hmm.
but I don't go anywhere to talk to them. I'll just, in my mind, I'll just say, okay, well, let's talk about this.
Yep.
Something going on, and I'm not liking the way it's going, so let's negotiate, because that's me. Now, most people would think I was crazy, but that's how I talk to my representatives of the universal force. You know, what's the difference between a spell and a prayer?
Not really much of difference. There's the intentions behind it, really.
It's well, like I'm saying, like you do the Indian culture, whereas mine is more Celtic because I'm a city Irish.
Hmm.
Um, and but it really boils down to the same thing. There's nobody in the world today who at one time did not come from a pagan background. Every religion that is out there today evolved at some point from a pagan background. So
Hmm.
why is it so hard for people to understand
Well, I
that?
think it's because there's been so many lifetimes over the centuries of the religious programming and the fear.
Programming, there we go again, which brings us back to mind mapping with Mia, because that's what I do. Is I help people. I don't do it for them. It's not, I didn't break them.
How does
So
math work? How does that work exactly? Would you explain that, please?
sure. Basically, I have a few things that I tell my clients always, before I work with them, because I always let them know that it's my decision as much as it's their decision. I can pick and choose who I work with, and so if, let's just say, I'll tell, because you like when I tell stories. I was doing a contract for juvenile probation, and I got sent to this kid's house, and the kid had never met me before, and his mother had called, and I got there, and then he got home from school, and we were sitting on the couch, and he's just kind of looking at me, and the mother says all of a sudden, she's, oh, I've got to go run pick up my daughters from athletics, and I'm like, okay. So I said to him, I said, so do you know who I am? And he said, no. And I said, well, I'm the therapist that's a part of your probation. I said, do you know what the terms of your probation are? Oh my God. I can't tell you how many times I asked children that, and they had never even seen their probation papers except for when they signed them.
Mm.
So they had no idea. And I would say to them, don't you understand? Your parents are not on probation. That's your signature next to the judge. That means you made an agreement with a judge, a legal agreement. And you're sitting here telling me you don't know what the terms of that agreement are?
Wow, that's sad.
Well, so then he went and got them and everything. I said to him, so explain to me what your normal day is like and everything. And he goes, well, I get home from school. He goes, if I'm hungry, I grab something to eat, and then I go out and hang out with my friends and everything. And he goes, I usually get home around 10. And just for a second, I forgot he wasn't one of my regulars. I forgot that he was brand new. And I went, yeah, I don't think so. And he goes, no, I do. And I said, no, you might have. I said, but you won't be doing that anymore. I said, because one thing, I'm looking at this paper and you have a 10 o'clock curfew. I said, so you need to have eaten, done your homework, done your hygiene, and given yourself a little bit of time to unwind. So you need to be, I said, 10 o'clock should be like your bedtime. Because if you go to bed at 10 and you get up at 6, then you've gotten 8 hours sleep,
Hmm.
you know. So I went away, I don't think he was like, I think he was afraid of me, it was like, but I came back the next week and I said to the mom, I said, how did he do this week? And she said, he's been acting awfully strange this week. She goes, he's been coming in after school and staying in. And I said, that's because I told him that the terms of his probation said he had to keep up his grades. He had to be in by 10. He had to, keep up his hygiene. He had to function as a normal human being during this time to prove that he was a responsible person.
Mm-hmm.
I said, so, and mind mapping is a lot like that. If someone comes to you and they're stuck, I had a married couple where they were childhood sweethearts and school sweethearts, and then they'd been together for a long time, and now they were married, and she ended up telling him something that had happened before they got married. Never a good idea. I have 911 relationship rescue, which is going to be up soon. And then I'll give all my relationship advice. Believe me, every mistake that you could ever make, I have made. So I'm like, I consider myself an expert in the field. Not that, I still make them, but, it's a learning process, and people need to understand, you know, we really don't have boundaries. We can learn to be whomever we want to be. I mean, I was a teenage mom, and I didn't go to college straight out of high school because I had a child to support. And but within a year, I knew that, okay, at this age, I can do this, but will I be able to do this 40, 50 years from now? And I said no. So it was back to college. And I went to college 18, 20 years, between kids and marriages and work and everything else. And then I went on for my coaching and my counseling and my hypnosis and my Reiki and you can see why my friends call me an accreditation junkie. But mind mapping is basically introducing your unconscious mind to your conscious mind. We talk to our unconscious all the time, but unless you do it mindfully, like with some idea, some purpose in mind, then we don't even notice. I mean, all day long, we have a running conversation with ourselves going on. Unfortunately, I'm a very big proponent of Don Miguel Ruiz and his Four Agreements. As a matter of fact,
Yep.
I have a copy of his book right here. In fact, I just bought the Fifth Agreement. I'm about to start reading it.
Oh, yeah, I've got all his books. I love his books.
Yeah, he and his son wrote another. I'm about to read the Fifth Agreement, but that changed my life. Especially about the part where it's like not, and so many people, not everything is about you. Sometimes you're just like a movie extra, like that they have there to fill out the scene and everything. And the only way that you get yourself into something is if you interject yourself. Because if it wasn't about you and you were supposed to be a spectator, and all of a sudden you come, and you have all this, whatever's going on and whatnot. Well, live your own life, know who you are, be confident to do, I mean, really, the only opinion that should matter to you is, am I going to be better than I was yesterday? It's not a competition between you and me or anybody else that we do. Believe me, there's enough screwed up people for all of us.
Yes.
You know, really. And that, you know, they need, different people need different things at different time. You know, I'm a straight shooter. Yeah, I don't sugarcake. You know, it's like it. You know, if somebody, you know, went through their thing and then they waited for my response, you know, well, I'm not emotionally involved. I don't have a horse in that race, and I always tell them that up front. I said, understand, I'm not going to do your work for you. I said, we're going to go into your ookie gookie cellar where it's dark and you don't want to go. And, you know, that's where all the things that you didn't want to deal with, you threw down there. And that comes from Iyanla Van Zant's In the Meantime, where she equates relationships to like the stories on a house. Well, you must clean out the cellar before you begin to live above it. And a lot of people are afraid to go into their cellar.
Mm-hmm.
And just as we begin programming, when people are telling us, well, people like us don't do things like that. Or, you know, act like a lady. You were taught to act like a lady, you know, or, you know, be a gentleman. You were, you know, I taught you to be a gentleman. You know, you say please, you say ma'am, you say sir, you say this, you say that, you say, you know, the same thing with religion. You know, you say this, you say that. This is okay. This is not okay. You know.
Color inside the lines.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
I
Well,
have to interrupt you for a moment, Mia, because I have to put us on a short break so that I can call into Blog Talk.
okay.
All right, so
I am right with you.
thank you.
Come in.
Until showtime.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got 1 minute, and then we'll be going live. Okay.
I want to grow up and be like you. I want to know how to do all this stuff.
Michelle taught me.
Okay, well, I guess I'm just a slow learner, you know? It's like,
Well, I'm a visual learner, so it's much easier for me to learn like hands-on in person. My housemate for years would say, why don't you read the directions? And I would say, because if I read the directions first, to me, it's like, it doesn't make sense. So Michelle is really awesome. She's amazing. She gave me grandmother directions. But now I've been doing it so long, it's a piece of cake. I can do it with my eyes closed. So we're
well,
going to,
that's good.
the introduction is going to like blast on any
Your
second.
show will go live in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Adult Talk Radio.
Good morning, Blog Talk listeners, and welcome, and thank you for joining us. We have Mia Johnson with us, and she's telling us some great stories, and we are learning about mind mapping.
Mind mapping.
Mind mapping. And before we do that, I'd want to quickly do the water, because that just takes a few seconds. So everybody who wants to participate, I have my Tinkerbell mug, and take your caps off your bottles, please. Okay, it's ready. And we love call-ins at 347-989-8446. Mia, would you like to pick up where you left off? We're talking about how getting down into the muck of things. I talk about that a lot also with my show, and when I'm doing teachings and healings. And I'm sure you have come across a lot of people that put up a strong resistance.
Absolutely. I'm not going in that basement. I don't care if you flood it with a floodlight and everything else. It's like, I kind of know what's down there, and I would rather just not.
Yeah, and you could be trying to jackhammer those shackles off them of fear, of the resistance, and sometimes like dynamite, doesn't work. And
well,
does.
That what you resist persists. So, you can resist something all you want. I mean, that people live their entire lives in denial.
Mm-hmm.
And people live their entire lives thinking, that they're spiritual just because they're religious. And
Yes.
there's a huge difference.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, do you walk the talk? I mean, because frankly, I see more of the opposite. Where people, say that they're one thing, and then the way they behave, and you go, okay, I'm real good with the harm none. It's like, it's kind of like being a doctor. I mean, don't you take the Hippocratic Oath? And as a therapist, you take an oath that, that that you'll never do anything to harm anyone. And that fits in with my spiritual beliefs, is that it's, if you always have the intention of doing no harm, then you just merely need to learn the tools. Like, for example, how do you, all right, like I said, the judge that becomes live in your head, that person that's always saying, oh God, I shouldn't have put this on this morning. This color really washes me out. If I'd known I was going to be on a video, I'd put black on or something. Okay. That little, the judge in the back of my head at some point in time was saying that to me. Okay. And I've learned to totally, like, just say to my judge, well, when I want your opinion, I'll ask for it. And but a lot of people play the judge and the victim. So they're criticizing themselves. I mean, that's what they're doing. And you're going, why are you doing that? I mean, like, what makes you think that way? Or, what greater good can come out of you sitting there, saying to you, oh, you should have put something different on today. So now your thought processes are going to be focused on that. It's the same thing with people. If you leave a misunderstanding without working to find not necessarily agreement, but a compromise that I'm not going to get what I want, but I'm going to get enough of what I want to make me happy. You know, I mean, I agree to disagree with you and mean it, you know. So I think that people need to really get back down, like in the Four Agreements, to the spirituality. You know, it's not always about you. You know, not everything is about you. You know, so when people say things, if you choose how you're going to react. Nobody can take, no one can take anything from you without your permission.
Mm-hmm.
No, you know, people treat you the way you allow them to treat you. You
Exactly.
know, I mean, if someone's treating you badly and you don't speak up and quickly stop it, well, then chances are it will go on. You
Well, and
know.
as you know, in your personal, not personal, well, yeah,
Oh yeah,
personal
personal
experience,
too.
but your professional experience, that that people who are that have a hard time come from a long-term programming that that they're not worthy or they're not valued, or, but just for our listeners, that's what causes people to start believing and behaving those things. They start owning what others say, and it also is it ties into taking it personal, you know, because if somebody, I've had people say that I'm too happy at times. And, you know, I know where that comes from. It comes from the place that they are unhappy on the inside. So, I'm agreeing with you, Mia.
Yeah, well, I just think that we have to raise our consciousness because you know what? For the most part, the last two generations, we did not raise our children with what they needed to know in order to be productive. And, you know, I mean, they're facing, it's no different than what people were facing in the Depression.
Mm-hmm.
Um, But look what came after the Depression. Look at all the entrepreneurs. Look at all the people that had to sit down and use their minds to figure out, okay, you know, so being a stockbroker isn't a really good job anymore. What am I going to be? And I know that a lot of people across America are asking themselves that every day. Are we going to lose our house? Are we going to lose? Are you going to lose your job? Am I going to lose my job? You know, and so we're sending up all of this fear energy. And, you know, being an empath, like when I go any place, I can just like feel everybody's like semi-panic, you know, like looking at things and what they cost, and
Yeah.
you know, just the other night, I take care of my mom. She has dementia, and she was opening a can of soup, and she poured it into the pan, and it was like hardly anything there. And you know, she remembers when, you know, a can of soup was full.
Oh yeah, stocked with chicken, if it was chicken soup or vegetables, stocked really. Yeah. Well, yeah.
And I said to her, that's the economy. I said they'll either make the packages smaller or they'll put less in it. I said you just have to understand, you know, that's the economy. Well, that's the economy that everybody's doing it, but some people are doing it without spiritual support.
They're doing
And
it though for greed and corruption though, don't you think? I mean, they're doing it. It's all real big corporations. It's all about money and greed, really.
Yeah,
And that,
well, you know, they would not sit there and say to your face that it wasn't. You
right.
know, they are big corporations. They are about making money. They are capitalists. And so, like, when you say to them, well, you know, it's not all about money, and they're like, well, it is to us.
Right. Yeah, it
You
is.
know, that's why I say, you know, everyone has to really do, and that's what mind mapping does. It introduces you to your unconscious, so that your conscious and your unconscious are working more in tandem, and that enables you not to judge yourself and to be able to walk away from things, you know, to say, you know, does this involve me? No. Okay, well then, you know, or when somebody wants to tell you something, you go, okay, before we get started, at the end of this story, do I need to do anything? And they'll think and they'll go, well, no. And I'd go, okay, well, then I don't have time for this story now. If you had needed something from me, okay. But again, it's teaching people that, you know what, it's okay to say no.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's okay to ask, you know, do you need me to do something, or are you just here to tell me a story? Because if I've got free time, I love to listen to people's stories, because I tell stories, you know, and if I've got the time, I'll listen to anybody's story. But if somebody comes rushing up to me and they're like, you know, and they're distracting me from something that I'm doing, you know, let's get to the bottom line. The bottom line is, at the end of this story, do you need me to do anything? And they go, well, no. I mean, they want me to feel sorry for them, and you know,
Yep.
and well, you know, fat chance. You know, it's kind of like we don't get to choose the cards that the universe deals to us. Job is how we play them, and you know, we can pick up and throw away whatever is good for us, or not good for us. You know, it's always a choice. You know, if you go to my website and go to my metaphysics page, I think that I found this really cool picture of the head of an owl, like really very gothic. I love it. You know, and it says, you are free to choose, but you are not free from the consequences of your choices.
Exactly. And yeah. How do people find that?
I'm a graphic junkie. Yeah, I said, it's all right. I've already
You
admitted it on a
mentioned two
couple of
places.
shows.
One was your website, and where's the other page that you mentioned?
Facebook. I have LinkedIn. Um, but I try to keep the different aspects of my life separately. What can
Mhm.
I do for the people in LinkedIn? Well, for those people who are just starting to try and do a business that they're going to do over the computer, and they now have to learn how to establish rapport quickly. Well, for some people it just comes naturally. I mean, you know, I'm a talker. You know, it's like, you know, my first radio show, everybody kept saying, are you nervous, are you nervous? I go, no, I'm not, stop. You know, and I'm not, you know, and even when I was done, they said, oh, were you nervous? And I said, no. I said, I'm not, you know. it was like,
I'm not
you know,
laughing at you. I'm laughing at them because it's like they wanted you to be nervous because that's what they expected.
yeah, and I was like, no, I'm not, and I am, sorry, allergies. Um, my last show, I did the whole show myself. I didn't have a guest. I did the whole hour myself because I wanted to really get into depth with the judge and how we can learn not to judge ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
learn to reprogram our maps. My ex-boyfriend used to say to me all the time, he goes, "You're not going to change my mind." And I would go, "Well, darling, I'm not trying to change your mind." I said, "I'm trying to change your perspective." I said, Only you can change your mind."
Exactly.
I said, "But if I can make you see it a different way, then maybe you'll see it." Wayne Dyer, I love Wayne Dyer, and
Yeah,
he
me
died
too.
this year. Yeah, a great loss to all of us. But he says that when you change the way you look at things, the things that you look at change.
Exactly.
And I think that that's something that we really, there are so many people who don't understand that. It's like having an emotional checking account.
Yeah.
That's another story that I use. I said, now imagine for a second you got an emotional checking account. And every little thing that's just like, it might be the fact that you burned the eggs this morning. Okay, no big deal, but that way you didn't have eggs this morning. You had to like grab something else. Okay, then you went to work and something happened, or get a call from a school and it's one of your kids and or something. All of these are withdrawals of your energy, of your well-being. If you are not constantly making deposits into your spiritual and your wellness, one day you're covering checks. These check for this, check for that, check for this, how much for the burned cookies, you know how much for the fact that I can't pay the mortgage this month. you know that's why the people who are the most stressed out right now are the ones who need us the most.
Yeah.
And it's our responsibility, at least my feeling is to make ourselves available and affordable, so that people know that you're not alone. And here's the good news: nothing, good or bad, lasts forever. So when sometimes when you're going into a conflict, it's kind of like, I don't know if you're a fantasy movie.
Oh, I love fantasy and sci-fi.
Okay, Lord of the Rings.
Oh, I have it. I own it.
Oh, okay. Well, you know how it's like, Aragon, became just that much stronger when the fairy stepped forward and said, "I'll fight with you," and the dwarf said, "I'll stand with you." And, you know, that's what people need to understand. That's what we're here for. That's
Yes.
what the Spiritual Guidance Network is here for. Is that, what? Whatever it is, one of us, if not more than one of us, can help you get whatever it is that you need straight. And it doesn't have to be.
I'm
It's
sorry.
not dysfunctional.
Exactly. And that's why I promote it every week, Mia. And I tell everybody every week that there are so many expert members on there that are amazing and have great gifts and talents and also products.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that I've already, I mean, I have a pretty big Facebook following too. I'm a networker, okay? You know, people sit there and say, like, oh my God, how do you have all these people? And I go, well, you know what? People, I don't say no to anybody. You know, it's like, you know, if you want to be my friend, fine, you know, and everything. When I reach the 5,000 limit, then I have to go through my friends and the ones that don't speak the same language as me, then I unfriend them to make room for someone who does.
Yep.
You know, and I figure I'm never going to be able to understand their posts anyway. You know, like Arabic. I think Arabic is one of the most beautiful writing in the world.
Mm.
But I don't understand it. Nice to look at, but I don't know what it's saying. So
Yeah.
again, you know, you really want to, and I think this is going to be one of my main focuses this year, is that people need to realize we all have to have our tribe. It used to be that families stayed living around each other, and you know, they didn't travel. There wasn't the distance. There wasn't the disconnection that there is now. But now people are, you know, spread all over the place. You know, if you have a parent that has 5 children, 5 children may be in 5 different states.
Yeah.
You know, how do you keep that community? How do you keep that tribe? How do you keep that tribe mentality? And how do you work out, you know, issues that come up? You know, how do you deal with devastating news? You know, um, it's all about being able to stay away from the negative wizards. You know,
Yes.
everybody's got a negative wizard in their life. You know, I mean, you know, I try really hard. I probably am not as successful as I would like to be, but I try really hard not to be a negative wizard in my son's lives. You know, I try not to, like, you know, immediately point out what could go wrong.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, because you know, as a mother, you're automatically scared for them, you know, and everything. But I'm learning not, you know, and a very wise friend of mine taught me that a few years ago, and it involved one of her children, and she could have stepped in to not to stop what was going to happen, but to change it so it would have been more convenient.
Mm-hmm.
Decided not to do that, because she said, what if the karmic lesson that he needs to learn is where he's going? And what if I take that away from him and he doesn't get that lesson? So
Right.
at some point, we have to step back and let everybody have their destiny.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they just need to understand it's their destiny.
It's a
You
matter of
know,
letting it go of trying to control.
well, if they're not going to take an interest in it, if they're not going to, you know, if they're not going to explore, if they're just going to live their lives based on what other people have told them, how is that really living? I mean,
You're right. It's not really living.
you know, I mean,
It's
what are
being
you?
more of a sheep.
Well, and I tell, like in one of the forums, you know, they said, you know, every day, you know, I feel gratitude, and it, you know, makes my spirituality expand. And I said, if someone said that to me, I said, I'm not trying to, like, you know, I say, I can see you made a quote. I said, so I'm not criticizing the quote. I'm just saying to you that, but if anybody said that to me, you know, while something was going on, I would look at them and I would say, probably, really? And just how would gratitude do that for me? You know, I mean, explain to me. I'm an explain to me,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you know.
I like
Um,
examples.
well, you know, it's like the world is cyclical, and so there's nothing I haven't heard.
Yeah.
It's hard to surprise me. You
Mm-hmm.
can still surprise me,
Yep.
but it's hard, you know. You know, I've had people call me and ask me to do exorcisms,
Yep. I've done exorcisms too.
you know, and again, like I try to impress on everybody, there is my reality, your reality. There is no real reality that we can see. There is fate,
Right.
but fate is not destiny. Destiny is the choices that you make.
Mhm. Um, I need to stop you there,
Okay.
Mia, because the show is going to end in about 3 minutes.
Okay, so say your goodbyes, everybody.
Well, yeah, I want you to be able to please go over all the ways that people can get a hold of you, give them your website.
www.outofthetangledweb.com. I believe that on LinkedIn we've changed it to Mind Mapping with Mia. On Facebook, it's just Mia Johnson. And it's Out of the Tangled Web too. And I have a lot of other things that are going to be coming down the pipe. You know, I'm not quite as established as you are. As I told you, I said, I want to learn how to do this. I'm going to pick your mind.
Well,
You
will
know.
people be the things that you have coming up the pike? Will they be able to find that stuff on the Spiritual Guidance
Yeah,
Network?
the jewelry that I have, pagan jewelry that I am going to be selling. And also a little bit further down the line, we're planning to do something with my 911 relationship rescue. Um, so, you know, one thing at a time. Right now,
Yes.
it's mind mapping with Mia.
And Mia, where would people go to look at your jewelry? Would they go to your website? Where
It'll be on
are
my
all the places?
It'll be on my website. It'll be on SGN.
Which is
Um,
spiritualguidancenetwork.com.
yes, spiritualguidancenetwork.com. And from what they tell me, it'll just be everywhere, you know. And
Awesome.
I've spent a long time. I always pick dramatic pieces. So like if I find something that I like, I usually buy two because I either end up giving uh, all the little girls next door, the grandchildren, they all have, you know, earrings for me with real rubies, real emeralds in it and everything, because I give them away, you know. So yes, I think they'll like the jewelry that's coming up.
Awesome. I want to remind everyone that tomorrow evening at the Garden Healing Yoga and Wellness Center at 27 Baynard Street, New Brunswick, New Jersey, I am doing my I Am class, and that's a really 60 seconds. That's a pretty cool class because we move on all levels, all dimensions, all lifetimes. Of fears from past life persecution so that you can really step into your gifts. We also I will be opening up DNA strands for your gifts and abilities. And if you choose, you'll be reciting a mantra that so that in your next incarnation, you will be free to choose another place besides Earth. And that is tomorrow evening at I believe it's at 8:00 p.m. But you can check in and call Carla or go on the website and check out the Garden of Healing Yoga and Wellness Center. And then Saturday, I'm going to be at Gaia's Gifts at 76 West Washington Avenue in Washington, New Jersey, for an hour and a half doing channeling. And then next week I'll tell you the rest of it, because that won't be for a couple of weeks. Mia, thank you so much for joining us here today on the show. I want to thank the Blog Talk listeners that are listening live and later in the archives. I want to thank the Google Plus and YouTube people for listening live and later in the archives. And I just want to thank Mia very, very much. Thank you for coming. I'm so grateful.
Thank you for having me.
Remember, everyone, you are amazing. You are powerful. Have a great day. Bye, Mia. I'll be talking to you soon.
Bye-bye.